Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. It's your host, Double B, a.k.a. Brent Bilski, a.k.a. the 110 Soldier. All right, today I'm going to talk more about the Sheryl Swoopes, Caitlin Clark beef and everything going down with that. I want to talk Lebron and Bronny. I love NBA. I love WNBA, but it's NFL season. It's here. No more jokes, no more nonsense. It is actually here. Starting off tomorrow, we got today, if it's the recording, AFC rematch, Baltimore and Kansas City, the big rematch on Thursday. And then Friday, the Love Hurts game, they're calling it. We got Green Bay versus Philly. Love Hurts based on the quarterbacks, get it? It's going to be in Brazil, which I think is interesting. And on a Friday, but in Brazil. You know, it's already players are worried. Darius Slay got in trouble, said, I'm not inviting my family to this bullshit. Are you kidding me? They already told him, like, hey, stay in your hotels. Don't dick around. So I thought that was, an interesting place to pick. And then on a Friday, they asked Roger Goodell, NFL commissioner, about it. And they said, look, you already own, Sundays, Mondays, Fridays, now Saturdays after college football. You're the most profitable sports organization in the entire world. Why do you need to send them to someplace that's not just, unsafe, but also maybe unnecessary? I thought he had an interesting response to that.
Give me it, it's mine! Give me that, it's mine!
They just got to keep making more money, I guess. But it's going to be good, so it starts tomorrow or today, depending on when you see this. And I'm so excited for it, like Jesse Spano on Saved by the Bell. And, the one thing I wanted to get into to start things off, though, before we get into, it's a long season. There's a lot of things to discuss. The first topic I want to remind people is off this picture based right here. Pop it up for me, Corey. It's just week one. It's just week one.
Wait! We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure.
Try to relax. Try to remember it's just week one, and we'll see. It's a long season, man. It's 17 games now. There's only 3 preseason games. Now with contract disputes and things that happen, Trent Williams just signed. CeeDee Lamb just signed. Teams can get off to slow starts. Other teams can get off to hot ones. There's injuries. There's things that happen. It is a long time, man. This season is going till February. Do not freak out if your team gets too hot or too cold to start the season off. It's one of my pet peeves because plenty of teams have started off either slow and ended up winning or started off fast and ended up losing. But because we get so excited because we've waited literally, it's going to be 210 days by the time your team last played football. And that's even if it was just the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So it could have been longer than that. Over 200-something days, you've been waiting for football. You've been watching the draft. You watched the preseason, the training camp. You did all the fantasy. You looked everything up. And you're all excited for the game. Then you lose game one. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, my God, our season's over. Everything's wrong. Our whole team sucks. Fire everybody. And just, it's week one. I have to remind you guys, again, some teams have started slow and won. Other teams, conversely, have started fast and lost. Slow starts, just to give you some fun facts here, 5 teams, 5 of them have won the Super Bowl after a 1-2 start. The last one were the 2018 Patriots. The 2001 Patriots actually were 3-4. They went on to win the Super Bowl. 2000 Ravens were 5-4, ended up going on to win the Super Bowl. I know everyone dreads the 0-2 start. That's the big, they have a high percentage of that there. If your team starts off 0-2, only 10% of them since 1970 have made the playoffs, but that's still 39 teams that have started off with their first 2 games of the season being a loss, but still go on. 4 of those teams appeared in the Super Bowl. 3 of those won. I could point out, other teams, 2013 Steelers, they started off 0-4. They just missed the playoffs and were actually replaced by the Chargers, who got into their spot. They started off 2-3 on the season. The 2015 Kansas City Chiefs were 1-5 to start the season off. They went on to win a playoff game. The 2018 season, I got 3 examples here for you. The Seahawks started off the dreaded 0-2. The Philadelphia Eagles were 2-3. The Texans started off 0-3, and even the next 2 games after that were 2 overtime wins. So their first 5 games were either losses or close as shit. They went on to 11-5 and made the playoffs. So, it doesn't mean just because you lose this upcoming game or the next week that your whole season's over. You can still make the playoffs, believe it or not.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
Love Jim Mora. But conversely, on the other side, teams have gotten off to fast starts too, so don't get too, JoJo the Indian boy with the pretty new pet, to quote Tommy Boy, don't get too excited just because your team gets off to a fast start. I know because most teams, it's 65 to 70% since 1990. The teams that start off 2-0 actually make the playoffs. But, just look last year. The Eagles started off 10-1. They looked like they were going to kick everyone's ass all the way to the Super Bowl, and I only have a real challenge to get the Chiefs. They lose 6 of their last 7. They get blown out by Tampa in the the wild card. Now, that was a huge collapse, but they're from far the only ones. I mean, the 2020 Raiders, they went from 6-3 to 8-8. They didn't make the playoffs. The Steelers started off 11-0 in 2020. Then they lost 4 of 5, and then were embarrassed by Cleveland at home in the wild card, I believe, game it was. The 2007 Lions were 6-2. They ended up being 7-9, missed the playoffs. In 2013, again, the poor Lions, 6-3, ended up being 7-9. They missed the playoffs. 2008 Jets, 8-3. They only went to 9-7. They missed the playoffs. Now, Favre got hurt, but again, injuries happen. 2009 Broncos started off 6-0. They missed the playoffs. 2015 Falcons started off 5-0. They went 8-8. They missed the playoffs. Are you getting my point yet? It's only week 1, so be excited. We've been waiting 200-something days for this. Be into it, enjoy it, sit down, bring family and friends and have yourself a blast, but do not lose your mind over one damn game or 2 damn games. It does not mean anything in a 17-game season with only 3 preseason games and a lot of shit to go.
Right! We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've got too far. There's too much to lose.
I want the chair part.
Keep our composure.
There it is. Keep your composure. It's all going to be fine. So I just wanted to point that out. It's only week 1. Try to relax. But I do want to give at least one more little preseason prediction here, as I wanted to discuss who I think might win the actual NFL awards once the season is over. And so if you can put this up for me, Corey, here, NFL awards predictions. Now, I also am a firm believer that preseason predictions are a lot like masturbation. They're satisfying to the person who put in the work, but the rest of the people don't really care to see it or want to hear about it. But I'm going to give it to you anyway. So here are my top 5 categories that I at least think are the closest to a lock, in my opinion, that are going to happen, and we'll see if I'm able to predict the future. MVP was an easy one for me this year. It's going to go to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, look, don't overthink shit sometimes. The Brady, Belichick years have taught me this. It's boring. I can give you a hot take. I know I'm supposed to, as a sports person, be like, oh, I think that Josh Allen or, Dak Prescott's going to win. No. Is Patrick Mahomes defending from the Super Bowl champions? Has he done that 2 years in a row? Does he still have Andy Reid? Does he still have Travis Kelce? I've learned this from the Patriots. Don't overthink shit sometimes. And actually, he usually responds well to down years. That's another reason that actually it makes sense that he might actually get the MVP this year.
You're the real MVP.
I mean, if you look at it, he had 27 touchdowns and only that was the worst he's had in 4 years, and 14 interceptions last season, even though he did win the Super Bowl. That's actually his worst ever. He's back now with a good offensive line, motivated Travis Kelce. He's got great wide receivers in Brown and Worthy. I can give runners up like Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, maybe a Josh Allen, but I think MVP is pretty easy. It's going to be my man Patrick. It's going to be Patrick.
You're the real MVP.
All right, Defensive Player of the Year. This one's closer, but I will give it to Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys. Shout out to the Cowboys. He might be one of the only bright spots of your team this year. But Micah Parsons, who is officially pissed off that he's been ranked number 3 in pass rushers behind Garrett and Watt. But the big thing is he's under a contract year. I will always bet on somebody who's about to try to make that money. This is his first chance to make his big boy money. He's already been a dominant player. I mean, this dude on a good defense is one of the few people you can put all over that defensive line, from the edge rush to linebacker. The defense, again, which is one of the top 5, top 10 defenses in the world, in the NFL at least. The world's dramatic, Noah Lyles. But yeah, so he is, he's somebody you can put all over the place, and he's dominant. He's great. He's looking for his money. I got the Defensive Player of the Year going to Micah Parsons, and runners up, I'll go with Garrett and Watt. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Caleb Williams, and I've been talking about Caleb Williams because he fascinated me. I like watching him on Hard Knocks. I didn't know about his attitude, the painted nails, the kind of weird, the crying and all that. He shut me up after 2 preseason games. Caleb Williams is clearly to me now the just premier candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, Bo Nix is okay, but McCarthy got hurt. Daniels, we'll see about Daniels. But I mean, it's not even my opinion. He has the best supporting cast by far of any of the rookies, with Moore, Allen, Odunze, Kmet, DeAndre Swift at running back. The only person I'll throw in there is a non-quarterback that might steal this from him. I'm going to continue to keep an eye on Marvin Harrison Jr. over there in Arizona. I am always a fan of a son of a pro athlete. I'm going to talk about Bronny a little bit later. I love sons of pro athletes. They seem to get things figured out early and know what they're doing. He is a stud himself at wide receiver. If Kyler Murray can figure things out, maybe they can get things done out there. But I'm still going to give it to Caleb. At the comeback player of the year, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow. Not only because I like Joe Burrow, a lot of people want it to be Aaron Rodgers, and I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I find him insufferable. I think he's a douchebag.
Douchebag says what?
The ayahuasca, the nonsense, the political rants, he just gets on my damn nerves, the vax and all that other crap he was doing. So I'm not rooting for Aaron, but also at 40 years old with a bad Achilles injury coming off last season, I don't think it's going to hold up in the first damn place. Joe Burrow is that dude, minus the new Slim Shady haircut he's got. He is the Jets. I get it. They have the new improved offensive line. They added Tyron Smith. They of course got Breece Hall and Wilson. I'm just not feeling them, man. And yes, I know Jamar Chase, Burrow's number one, is currently in a contract dispute. He might sit out week 1. That could be a whole thing. Again, it's a long season, but a lot of this is just because I don't like Aaron Rodgers. And so if I have to pick between the two, I think it's going to be between Burrow and Rodgers. I'm going with Burrow because screw Aaron Rodgers.
Douchebag says what?
My show, I can do what I want. Coach of the year to me is an easy one, D'Amico Ryans and the Texans. I am huge on the Texans. I got them only behind the Kansas City Chiefs. And I mean, in just 2 years, this dude has come in and just created an entire new culture, turned them from terrible to contenders in just 2 seasons. I think the AFC South is weak. I think CJ Stroud is on his way to a possible MVP upset maybe of Patrick Mahomes. I got him at number 2. They had Stephon Diggs. They added Mixon. They added Hunter. They're ready. It looks like everything's going in the right direction. I mean, there's a couple other candidates, but I clearly have Ryans at top for the coach of the year. So there you go. Preseason predictions. Enjoy them and do what you want with them. And 8 weeks from now, if I'm totally wrong, I'll pretend like none of this ever happened. Moving on. Rookie of the Year race. I'm going a completely different route now. I want to go actually to the WNBA. So Corey popped this up for me here. And I'm calling it Rookie of the Year race. This is the only thing that's left now at this point between Angel and Caitlyn is watching the entire world. I remember, I've only seen it a couple times in sports. I remember OJ, which, exceeded sports. But I remember that was the first time in my life I kind of saw all this happen.
Black people too happy, white people too messy.
Where it really got divided down the line. The Colin Kaepernick, of course, kneeling and all that seemed to be kind of divided right down the line. And I remember when this started happening, because this is just a tale as old as time, when this started 2 years ago at LSU, and I had commenters and people try to give me shit about bringing up the race thing. I'm like, dude, it's LSU versus Iowa. It's Angel, Flau'jae, and LaDasia versus Caitlyn, Kate, and Gabby. We know what time it is. We know where this is going. You could see this storm brewing a mile away, but it's been fun. I mean, again, for me, it's Magic and Larry, which I didn't get to live through other than my very early years, to see, 2 girls, totally different backgrounds, totally different styles, 2 different races, the 2 most controversial as far as trying to get along, it seems like, in today's country, being able to inspire both groups and women in general and bring the WNBA to new heights and all sorts of new ratings and saving the league. It's so Magic and Larry Bird. It was beautiful to watch, but of course we continue with our horse shit and we continue to do what we do in America and we fight about a bunch of dumb stuff and race included.
Black people too happy, white people too mad.
So, only thing I want to say about this though, because it really has, and I'll talk about it in a second, the race has gotten over here. There's just not much left to say or do at this point, especially after last week when Caitlyn ate her lunch in Chicago. And I know I'm a Caitlyn fan, but I mean, just look around. Vegas, 97% odds. Almost everybody other than that one ESPN article. There's a reason that one article has been just prompted to everyone's social media. It was clickbait. They're the only ones that put Angel at 1, and they did that to get your clicks. Almost everybody in universal agreement is going, dude, it was fun, it's great, but unfortunately, it's over. We got to move on to the next topic. But some people just want to cling to it and just hold on to it like Linus and Peanuts with his blanket. And I would just say at this point, be careful. Be careful as a fan if you are going to be this, because if Caitlyn lost, as much as I would root for Caitlyn, I guess between privilege or whatever, I don't have the tribalism of I'm just going to cling to my argument. Like I'm just going to hold on to it no matter what's been proven the other way. And not that everyone's doing this, but I'm hearing and seeing it, and Sheryl Swoopes has become the queen of this. We're going to get to Sheryl because it's been bananas with everything going on with her. But just to everyone else, like I warn you, just be careful. I get it. There are things that maybe I don't know or understand, and there are things that everyone has a different experience, but at some point, sometimes it's just over. This one's over. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, and you look kind of stupid if you cling to, the rebounds or the double-double arguments when this girl has moved on from Rookie of the Year. She's going towards MVP voting. I mean, she's hit a whole new category, her and the Indiana Fever. But, I mean, the Angel fans still clinging to the double-double thing. Let me ask you this, and this is, I think, a pretty good question to kind of explain what I'm trying to say as far as, like, do you really believe what you're saying, or is this something else included?
Simple question.
If the double-double was the end-all, be-all with Angel Reese, the one category she leads Caitlin on, if it really was as great as you say it was, why wasn't Domantas Sabonis MVP last season over Nikola Jokic or anybody else that was in the running when he had 77 of 82 double-doubles? Do you think 20-something double-doubles in WNBA is impressive? Domantas Sabonis just last season had 77 games with a double-double out of 82. Matter of fact, he had 61 straight. That was the most double-doubles in a row in 40 years. And I didn't hear one person, not near nobody, talk about Domantas Sabonis for MVP. Because if you're being legit and being honest, you know damn good and well that is not the same as Nikola Jokic or Luka Doncic or whatever everybody else is able to do, points, assists, creating everything, and being able to control the entire offense and the entire game. A double-double's nice, a double-double's effective, a double-double helps, but it is not the reason you should win an award over someone who is dominating and setting all-time records. So if you really believe in your heart of hearts that it was all rebounds and double-doubles, and that's why Angel should be above Caitlin, then why didn't you argue for Domantas Sabonis? Why weren't you furious that he didn't win the MVP? But it's okay. I get there's things going on here. It is what it is. I will, on one thing, though, say, like I said, the race is officially over, and it was officially made over on Friday. Fun game for me. Now, it sucked for the Sky because Kennedy Carter wasn't there, and Angel needed her that game. But Caitlin Clark got her career-high 31 points, 12 assists that day. She's now the only WNBA player to get 3 games of 25-10 in the season. They won 100-81. It wasn't that close. She's beat Angel now 3 or 4 times in the regular season this year. And the worst part about it was on Barbie night. It was Angel's night. They had these pink towels for Barbie night after the game. In Angel's house, Caitlin Clark is signing Barbie towels. And what I don't know if she realized what she did, but that's pretty savage, and that's like some Angel stuff. So I don't know how I feel about it, but the point being, she owned her in her house now. That's 3 of 4. She got a career-high 31 with 12 assists. Angel had 11 and 10. She did okay, but she kicked her ass again in the last time we get a chance to look at them and make our evaluations here. It's over. It's done. The Fever, before I get back into, the stuff that's a little bit more uncomfortable here, let me just say this. The Indiana Fever, it's not all Angel Reese's fault that she is now out of the running here, because the fact is the Indiana Fever are just a better team who are hitting a surge, and I will actually say it's because of Caitlin Clark. Has a lot to do with it, of course.
Look at me, son. It's not your fault.
But it's not Angel's fault because the Chicago Sky did trade Mabry. But if you can go to this video, Corey, it is not just Caitlin Clark. And I want to go ahead. I haven't done this yet. She needs her love. The Splash Sisters. I want to talk about the Splash Sisters and my girl Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark. I don't have Stephen Clay anymore. I don't have the Splash Brothers. But now I have the Splash Sisters in Kelsey and Caitlin, and they are just as fun, and I can't wait to watch them keep playing more basketball. The Indiana Fever are a goddamn problem. 6-1 in their last 7. They're plus 500. They're in the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. They already have 17 wins. That is more than 2020, 2021, and 2022 seasons all combined. Clark continues to be dominant. She's the 2-time player of the week, 24, 9, and 5. She's now the 4th of 500 and 200 assists under 30 games, only joining Magic, Isaiah, and Robertson. But Kelsey Mitchell, in her 7th season, the 4th all-time leading scorer in NCAA women's history, has had 20 points in her last 7 games. That's a franchise record. She's averaging 26.7 over the last 7 games. She is averaging 19 for the season, and you put them together, and now I got the Splash Sisters, and they play just like them. Caitlin reminds me a lot of Steph. Kelsey reminds me a lot of Clay in that she loves to score, she loves to shoot, she doesn't need to do much else. And after that ball gets rotated once, if it comes back to Kelsey's hand, she is going to kick somebody's ass. Matter of fact, I think she's better one-on-one than Caitlin Clark and might be a better overall scorer. They both had to quit school, unfortunately, because there was recess and they got no time to play. I got the dual queens of the I Am Her tribe. They're from the Come Get It clan. Kelsey's averaging 26.7. Clark's averaging 36.7 points combined. That's 63 points per game of 82 total. That's 75% of the offense. The Splash Sisters, get used to it. And WNBA, they are coming for your neck. I love these girls. I have enjoyed watching them play together now. It is so fun to see that second part, and Kelsey Mitchell deserves her love. Kelsey, you are a bad, bad woman. I'm sorry I didn't know more about you, but at least Caitlyn now has brought the attention to this girl. Again, the 4th all-time leading scorer in NCAA women's history. This girl is a problem on her own, and put them together. I got the Splash Sisters. I don't need the Splash Brothers anymore. Clay, enjoy Dallas. Get the hell out of my life. I got the Splash Sisters now. I don't need you anymore. It is, so that's great for me. The other thing that's great too, like I said, Indiana Fever have won 6 of their last 7. It's not just that they have the talent starting to figure things out together. It's the chemistry. Even the little stuff, like, when they score and everyone cheers and all that, you can see that on the sidelines. But even post-game, I thought this was funny. Pop this video up here for me, Corey. I'm going to start getting you busy here in a second. This was Lexi Hull. And so she had a career-high game. Lexi's been playing well herself.
I tried to just be as active as I could, get my hands on as many balls as I could, get my hands on as many balls as I could, get my hands on as many balls as I could, and take advantage of that.
Yeah, they ought to chuckle with that.
Yeah. We done. Oh, Lex.
But you see the two others. You got Caitlyn and Kelsey laughing. I mean, yeah, she needs all the balls. But even that, like, they're paying attention to each other. They're laughing with each other. They're getting along. You see the post-game locker room celebrations. You see them cheering on the sideline. All that stuff matters, man. People think in professional sports that chemistry doesn't matter. I promise you it does. And you can see they all get along. They all like each other. They all want each other to succeed. That's all very important, even at the professional level. And, man, they are kicking ass and taking names. And Caitlyn and Kelsey are at the head of that snake. And it is a just total blast to watch. So you throw all this together, the Indiana Fever have a much better record. Caitlyn set an all-time history. Now she's got the talent that Angel doesn't anymore. The race, unfortunately, is just where it's at. It's done, and we can move on to hopefully next season. But then, unfortunately, we have to enter people like Sheryl Swoopes. Sheryl Swoopes. Pop this next picture up here for me, Corey. I'm just calling this whole segment One Failed Swoops.
I hate.
Sheryl. This is what I'm also going to AKA call this besides, One Failed Swoops. How to lose credibility in 10 days. This is clearly trauma. Like this again, like the earlier conversation I was saying where unfortunately the Angel-Caitlyn race has gotten divided right down the line. And when that happens, you'll have people that'll cling to things and just dig their heels in. And after a while, it gets kind of embarrassing because you're like, you really don't even have anything to stand on anymore. And this is Sheryl Swoopes. I mean, who, again, is one of the most legendary WNBA and basketball players on the women's side of all time. I mean, men and women's. I mean, Sheryl Swoopes was that one. I mean, the first WNBA player drafted by the Comets. She was an Olympian. She's a multi-time champion. She set almost every record in the world before Caitlyn got there, and maybe some of that plays into it as well. But, I mean, if she's not living proof that, a lot of this tension exists, but also that a lot of great players don't necessarily make great analysts or great coaches. Unfortunately, Sheryl's in that category too, and she's far from the first one. A lot of people think they can just, I have talent, let me walk into it. It's a whole different work. It's a whole different game. But she is really just gone off the deep end. And I think it has, again, a lot to do more with not Caitlyn herself, but who Caitlyn represents and who Caitlyn is a lot backed by. Not everybody, but if you're going to find that very Republican, conservative, MAGA-wearing, white power kind of fan, they're going to be on Caitlyn. You know what I mean? So I think even though that's not the majority, there is enough of a part of that fan base there to where I think Sheryl is kind of channeling some energy. And unfortunately, it's misdirected and it's trauma based on, I don't know what's happened in Sheryl's life, but she's really gone after a Caitlyn Clark who, I mean, for all the things I could say about Caitlyn could be one of the biggest assholes in the world. I would never know because all she ever does is say the right thing as far as like in front of a camera. I don't know. She could be a jerk behind the closed doors, although teammates and stuff make me think that that's not really true. But I'm just saying, I mean, she always seems to, never say anything controversial, just kind of keep it pushing, like, hey, I just want to play basketball, respect everybody else, da-da-da-da-da. So it makes it even weirder when you come this hard at her, other than like, man, there seems to be something else behind it here. There seems to be some other issue.
Black people too happy, white people too mad.
But in case you haven't been caught up to all this, so again, Sheryl Swoopes, legend, one of the greatest players to ever exist, and now has her own podcast. She's an analyst and everything else. The first thing that started all this off was when Caitlyn was still in college. Somebody put together a kind of compilation of this. Corey, if you can play this video for me. So let's get everyone caught up. Why am I saying all this? This is what I'm calling Sheryl hating on Caitlyn. Hit play for me here. Again, there's something behind this level.
If Rookie of the Year was pick today, I give it to Angel. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now? Absolutely not. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
Okay.
So
She did.
If Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years.
She did.
But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So
None of
is it
that's
truly a broken record? Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. And I don't think it should be. Let's also talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them. Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
No, she doesn't. So, yeah, it was a whole thing. And, I mean, not a word of it. And the other thing that's scary, too, to trust her as an analyst, when you say things and you don't have the actual stats with a confidence level that she did, and she's not the first person to do this, that is a giant red flag for me. I get a lot of things wrong, but I try my best to research everything I tell you. She said it with just all the confidence in the world and couldn't have been more wrong about every single fact she tried to state. She tried to say it took her more than 5 years. It didn't. She did the same time in 4. She tried to say she took 40 shots a game. She only took 22. She tried to say she's 25 years old. She was the same age as everybody else. Literally, not one thing she said was true in that entire statement, but she said it with like just, oh yeah, this 25-year-old taking 40 shots a game and everything else. And not a word of it was true, that she said it with such like just not even a hint of like, I wonder if I'm wrong about that. I mean, that by itself is scary. But that was just the tip of the iceberg because, they just played the Wings and Sheryl Swoopes was supposed to be on the commentary, and because of even more things that are going on with Sheryl, they had to pull her from the game. I don't know if people caught this. Sheryl Swoopes was absent from her regular duties as a broadcaster at the last Caitlin game against the Dallas Wings this Friday because she has continued to dig her heels in, and she has apologized since that last video. Let me say that was from Gilbert's podcast from a while back, and she even put up on X, she put up a tweet of her, showing that she texted Caitlin, said, hey, sorry, I was wrong about literally everything I said. And Caitlin, of course, texted back like, hey, it's cool. You're one of the pioneers. Love you, da-da-da-da. But then she kept going, and it's like, Sheryl, what is going on with you? So in case, again, she had to get pulled because some of the latest things that happened were, she praised Diamond DeShields, the Sky player, after the last game. And to be fair, this is a situation where, there was some flagrant fouls again, and I'm going to show the video on that why, again, the Chicago Sky, Angel Reese's team, continues to be a problem. But there was a reason she tweeted this out, but again, it seemed kind of sympathetic to the team that continues to try to bully and take cheap shots on Caitlin. So in case you don't know what I'm talking about, this someone else put together this compilation here for me. So pop this up, just so you know, and I thought this was a fun stat for anyone thinking that Caitlin doesn't get maybe some excessive treatment here. Hit play for me. As you can see up there, 17% of all flagrant fouls in the entire WNBA this season have been committed on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, by herself, has caught 17% of all the flagrant fouls that have been committed in the WNBA this season. What's even more interesting, 80% of that 17% has been committed by the Chicago Sky, Angels team. DeShields just did it again. There's Carter smacking her on the ground. The only one that's not a Sky highlight in this is Wilson, who ends up killing her on a pick. But everything else, Chicago Sky just taking shot after shot after shot. There's the Thomas shot there. Excuse me, Thomas on Caitlin. But again, so 17%, 80% by the Sky. So after DeShields committed another flagrant foul, Swoopes tweets her and puts up, heads up, kid, hate will not win. You're covered and ain't nothing these evil people can do about that. All love for you. Now, I will say as a caveat, that was not just that DeShields was talking about the game, but I guess some people were saying some hurtful things to her on her social media, and she posted that. But again, it seemed like, wow, you're really going out of your way to support the Chicago Sky team, as she's done before, hugging Angel Reese. So again, there seems to be something else behind it. So that wasn't just all, though. In her last podcast, Queens of the Court, and this one was truly bananas. So Sheryl had her podcast, Queens of the Court, and she's talking about the Indiana Fever specifically and how they're doing really well. it was the part that everyone paid attention to, and Stephen A. Smith ended up responding to this. She talks about her recent improvements for the Fever, again, 6-1 their last 7, everything else, and she credits Aaliyah, she credits Kelsey, and she credits Lexi Hull, and in her entire conversation did not bring up Caitlin Clark. Every incident by itself, you can say isolated doesn't mean shit. But when you're already on the I don't really like Caitlin train, I'm saying she takes 40 shots a game, she's 25 years old, and, I seem to be, very supportive towards people that love to flagrant foul her over and over and over. And then you add that on with, I'm going to give Indiana Fever credit. They're doing great. Thanks to Aaliyah, Kelsey, and Lexi Hull. And I'm not going to mention Caitlin Clark's name. I got to start putting shit together. I got to start putting puzzle pieces together. If you can pop this picture up here for me, this is what this, kind of give you an idea like, oh, you think I'm being too whatever. And not to mention the shirt she's wearing, in the podcast on Gilbert. Again, a lot of things seem to be coming together, but if you can pop up, it's the previous one before that. If I was wearing a shirt that said All American Only, and I had, me urinating on the French flag, and I'm talking about the San Antonio Spurs and how great they're doing, and I'm being like, man, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, they're doing so great. San Antonio Spurs are doing so well right now. I got to give a lot of credit to San Antonio Spurs thanks to, Johnson and Sohan. And people are like, well, what about, Victor Wembanyama? And I'm like, who? It wouldn't take you more than 2 seconds to go, dude, okay, clearly you have something against French people. Like, what are you doing here? What are we getting into? How can you talk about the Spurs and talk about how good they're doing, and you're talking about all these little American dudes, but yet the 7'3" rookie of the year who just happens to be French while you're wearing a shirt of you urinating on the French just seems to be a problem with you. I'm like, what do you mean? Are you crazy? How dare you say that? What do you want me to say? That I can't put those pieces together? That you clearly seem to have some specific issue with her if you talk about how good the Indiana Fever are and you somehow leave her name omitted from the entire conversation when, again, she's on like MVP levels right now. You got to stop with the nonsense. And so Stephen A. Smith did a Stephen A. Smith thing and called her out for it. But then she tweeted out, you can talk about whomever and whatever you want in your podcast, correct? So why can't I? Also, did you listen to the entire episode? Nope. I have a personal relationship with these players, and they deserve recognition as well. Fair enough. I just gave love to Kelsey Mitchell. And everyone that said, though, that listened to the podcast, you didn't, by the way, ever bring up Caitlin Clark's name. So that was a kind of misdirection there. But it's besides the point. Like, that's just weird. That's weird that you would bring up how good the Fever are doing and not say her name. In the same way, it would be weird for me to bring up the San Antonio Spurs and how good they're doing and not be able to bring up Victor Wembanyama's name just when I happen to be wearing a shirt that seems like I don't like French people. I don't know what to tell you. So, Caitlin's doing her thing, continues to break every record in the world. First 30-point, 12-assist game, WNBA history. Just recently, first rookie with 30, 10 in a game. 12 double-doubles. That now breaks the WNBA record for most double-doubles by a guard. Most three-pointers made by a rookie. First WNBA player, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 consecutive. It's 10th straight game with 15 points, 5 rebounds. Will put you only with Diana Taurasi's the only players to ever do it. Da-da-da-da-da. So Caitlin's not worried about it. Caitlin's keeping it pushing. And I don't really know Sheryl Swoopes, and it doesn't really matter in my life whether, she does her podcast or not. But it is interesting, and she has kind of become the representative. And so if you can pop this picture up here for me, like, my only question, if I can ever get a hand, like, who hurt you, man? Like why are you in this blind hate rage over this? It seems some sort of other reason behind it. There seems to be some other motivation, again, between the shirt and not being able to say her name as you're talking about them and seeming to praise the Sky specifically. I got to start putting stuff together. There's clearly some other trauma or frustration that you have with Caitlin fans, and I get it. I know which fans you're talking about, but not everybody is that, and Caitlin's not that. And it's really hurting you more than it's hurting anyone else at this point because, again, anything she else says basketball-related, I'm going to take with a grain of salt. Like when you ignore an elephant this big in the room and act like it's not there and spit wrong facts and everything else, and then you've been told you got it wrong and you continue to dig in your heels to the point they wouldn't let you do the game you're supposed to be at because they're like, bro, we can't let her on the microphone. She clearly has a problem with this girl. She's going to say something, or at least we have a fear of it. At this point, you're just hurting your own credibility. So I love Angel Reese. I respect everything Sheryl's done in her career, but this is a very good lesson to learn of acceptance of like, hey, sometimes when you cheer for somebody, things don't go your way. Sometimes you say things wrong. It's okay to say you're wrong and apologize. Sometimes you need to be able to take a step back and go, am I hurting them by this? Am I actually doing anything productive, or am I just hurting myself? Sheryl Swoopes, I hope you can kind of, it's coming to a head. Everyone's been talking about this. Find some peace with this, man. Just again, let it go. I'm going to play it again. It's okay. And Corey, you're vibing to this. It's, Angels, they both got long careers. Angels can kick her ass for the next 9 seasons. We don't know. Last things I want to get into here, and I can go ahead and call it. I want to talk about, let me mention this real quick. I forgot I had this. This is my last little caveat to the whole thing. I want to shout out the Dallas Wings and a player who went the total opposite way. I'm becoming a huge fan of Dallas Wings already because Arike Ngubawale is just tougher than a hornet's nest. That girl is something else. She is fun to watch. Now, the Wings aren't doing that well yet, but I like what happened. So after they just lost to the Fever, which everyone's doing right now, and Caitlin kicked her ass, which she's doing to everyone right now, and Kelsey's scoring everywhere because that's what she's doing right now, one of their best players, a girl named Satu Sabali, was asked about, in Dallas, everyone's out there and it's sold out. How do you feel about it? And other than, everyone wearing Caitlin jerseys, what do you have to say? Pop this video up here for me. I want to shout out Satu Sabali because this is how it's easy. It's easy to still be competitive, but also give love to the people who are helping you pay all these new checks that you're getting. Go ahead and hit that for me.
But, it just kudos because it's amazing to see so many people in women's basketball jerseys. It's amazing to see the excitement and the joy that comes out of that. So although I feel like our Dallas fans could have done better, I had mixed feelings, obviously, seeing all the Caitlin jerseys in our home. But it's an amazing sign for women's basketball, and it's just great how far we've come, and it's just fun.
Thank you. How hard is that? How hard is it to be like, hey, I want y'all to start wearing our jerseys, and maybe we'll kick her ass enough to where next time the crowd will be packed with nothing but Wings jerseys. But at the same time, hey, man, it's helping us out, dude. We got sold-out crowds. Kudos to her. I'm seeing girls everywhere wearing jerseys. Suddenly they're proud to be women's basketball fans. This is great for the sport. We love her for it, and let's just keep it pushing. Why is that so difficult for so many people right now? And Sheryl included, man. Just take a lesson from her.
You need to stop doing dumb shit.
Just stop saying dumb stuff and just let's move on. Okay, now I'm done with that. I want to move on to Lebron and Bronny. I want to talk about them quickly. There was a recent episode of the Shop podcast, but you can pop this picture up here for me, Corey. I'm rooting for LeBron and Bronny. Not so much LeBron, but I like it. As far as the storybook ending goes, I like the story of LeBron and Bronny because I don't think LeBron really has any chance to win a title in his last couple years with the Lakers. But this is a cool thing to do. This is historic. This is a nice moment. The first NBA player. And maybe, I don't know, we'll see. It's going to be a while before somebody's still significant and can play 21 seasons into his NBA career and have a kid at least young enough to where it's a possibility where father and son are actually able to play together on the same court. This might truly be his greatest achievement as far as something that we may never see happen again, where LeBron and his son get to play on the court at the same time. The fact they got drafted by the same team. A lot of things had to come together. So, this is one of a lot of things that LeBron annoys me with. I'm not mad at this. And kind of like I was just lecturing Sheryl and others to say like, hey, take your, issues with a certain thing here and try to take it away and just look at the bigger picture. As much as LeBron gets on my last nerve, and he gets on my last nerve, and I got a new video to show you here. He's just a weird dude. But his son Bronny is his own thing, man. And I got to remember that he's just a young kid who's trying to live his dream like everybody else, who just happens to have arguably one of the most famous people in the world as a father. And I can't fault him for wanting to do what he wants to do. So even though, LeBron can get on my last nerve, Bronny is his own separate individual, and I'm going to respect and root for him because the more I watch, the more I get impressed. And there was a new video of Bronny, put this up, and he continues to impress me in workouts. Pop it here for me. And like I said, I'm rooting for Bronny. I mean, I like his dad, but I'm rooting for Bronny because everyone I've talked to, actually, I know some people now that have met him, said he's a cool dude, he's humble, he's a good teammate, he's unselfish, and he's had every excuse in the world to be a lazy rich kid. It's a hard choice to work as hard as he has to try to make it into the NBA. And the big part, he came back from a damn cardiac arrest, a near-death cardiac arrest in a year, and came back and continued to try to push and do something that is almost impossible. I mean, you know, he got drafted by the Lakers. It's unfair. Look, I don't know what to tell you. Bronny was going to be in LeBron's shadow no matter where he went. It's like Steph Curry's brother, Seth. I don't want to play with Steph. I don't want to be in his shadow. You're in his shadow. Bronny was going to be in Dad's shadow no matter where he went. So the fact he gets to make history with him, I think that's a cool thing. And every time I see him on tape, he gets better. Every time I look at him, he's clearly in the gym. He's clearly working out. He's clearly working hard. I think the kid's got game. I really think he has a chance to at least be a successful role player in this league, besides just be the Nepo baby and daddy's kid. But he works hard. He comes back from cardiac arrest that almost killed him. He clearly loves the game. He could easily sit on his ass and say, I'm just going to collect my NIL deals and get daddy's money, drive in a Porsche, play video games, maybe go knock up half the strip club over here. And he said, no, I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to try to get better. I'm going to try to do something no one else has done and play with my dad, maybe be a good player myself. So go Bronny, man. I don't need to like LeBron to be able to root for his son as a separate individual or be able to root for the both of them together, at least to have some nice moments on the court as they, again, make all-time history. Go, Bronny, do your thing, man. I'm on your side. I don't know why people can't seem to put the two apart. I see what you're doing. I like what you're doing. Go get him. His dad, though, I got a whole different video. I don't know. LeBron, pop this next one up. LeBron was doing a workout. I don't know. We'll just play it. Just hit it. This is almost what? LeBron. All right, first of all, do you really need to do that workout? I mean, you're LeBron James. You're like a genetic freak. Does he need to really spot you like that? And why are you putting this on the internet? Like, what are you doing? Like, if you need to, I mean, he's putting it out there. Corey's nodding in approval. That's a thirst trap. Like, what? Like, that's a thirst trap. LeBron is putting out thirst traps on the internet. That is clearly not a real workout. I've been to a gym. I've actually been in the weight room. I've seen people do shit. I've never seen this in a million years. And again, why he needs to just spot and grab when that weight's clearly you're not struggling with it. LeBron is his own cat, man. Like I said, LeBron will do shit sometimes. I'm just like, bro, I don't know what you're up to. Fun fact, though, I have exclusive audio. They asked him afterwards, how do you feel after your workout?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. All things considered, I couldn't be better, I must say. I'm feeling super.
Just saying. I don't know what's on LeBron's mind, but go Bronny. Last thing, speaking of genetic marvels and freaks and everything else, when life gives you lemons, especially 7'7" lemons, make Alienate. The hell am I talking about? I'll show you right here. Pop up this video here. This kid's name is Robert Borkowski, and he was a 7'7". He was a big star on the internet for a while because he was this big 7'7" kid, but he couldn't really, go ahead and hit play for me. And he was too slow foot to make it past college. But the new Alien movie, if you see the Romulus, just know it's him. And he's in a costume. So there he is on the one side. You see that 7'7" Robert Bobrovsky. He was born in Romania, moved to the U.S. in 2016. He's been 7'7" since he was 17 years old. Wasn't able to make it all the way to the college, big college or the pros, because when you're that big and clunky, it's hard to move around. But he found a whole new gig as an actor, as a gigantic alien. That's him in the suit. Isn't that crazy? Of course, like, what the hell is that? Robert Bobrovsky. Yeah, they got the long neck and the whole thing.
That's a huge bitch.
My only hope, besides like good for him for getting an acting career, that's nice to, again, make Alienate out of your 7'7" lemons. I hope for his sake he's got a big one.
Penis so big penis.
Sorry, my brain goes there, but I'm just thinking like, dude, 7'7", that big long neck. You're advertising like. You know what I mean? You're advertising some heat is all I'm saying. I hope it's not a bedazzled situation. If anyone's seen the Brendan Fraser movie where he gets to be this big, tall basketball player and then the girl takes the towel off and goes like, oh, never mind. I got something else I got to do. I hope for his sake because it's tough being 7'7". It's tough being that big. I'm having fun with him.
That's a huge bitch.
You know, it's rough. You know, everything's undersized. Imagine being like really feeling like Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings in your everyday life going into a hobbit's house. That's what he feels like almost every day of his life. Everything's too small for him. Everyone else seems to fit. And he's just like, I don't know what to do. So he got to find an acting job, and I'm sure he gets some attention for it besides just basketball. But my big hope, and I don't, don't give me any confirmation or pictures. I'll just take your word for it. I hope he's got it.
Penis so big penis.
I hope he's got it. Hope y'all got it. Hope everyone's got it. Hope everyone's got a big old great weekend coming up. Talk to you next time.